Recording in progress.
So welcome everyone. So we are here gathered to celebrate the delivery and integration of solar ultraviolet imaging telescope on board Aditya-L1, an upcoming solar mission. So I'm Nishant, and I will call our Director IUCAA, Professor Sri Anand, to welcome you all. Good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting. So my job is over. I hope that this celebration is also like that. In the sense that we are happy to know that our instrumentation team, consisting of 2 faculty members, large number of people in the instrumentation lab, helped by several people in the admin various capacities, and helped by faculty like us because we didn't disturb them, so that they could do this way. Because of this, we are at this stage where this payload has been delivered to ISRO for commissioning and launch. It is indeed a good news because whenever initial step is taken, and also in space, we know that when somebody is delivering an instrument, which means that all aspects are completely covered. It's not like in ground, where you can deliver an instrument and go back after some times and keep changing it. That option is not there. So definitely when one reaches this stage, I assume that this is perfectly done, because otherwise you will not reach here. So I congratulate all the people involved in bringing this instrument to such a status, so that this is like lot of hard work involved, I can imagine, because already now they have planned how things should be calibrated after 2 years. Okay. This is the kind of thing one needs, I suppose. I also thank all the, it's an invitation kind of talk, but I'm thanking because that's the only thing I do. I already invited you to this meeting. I thank all the people who are involved in the collaboration. And as we keep saying, when we evaluate a PhD student during IUCAA this thing, because PhD students are here for 5 years, there are different stages. So first year they finish 20% of their career. So when we evaluate, I used to make a joke: don't give 95% mark to that person, because you are expecting a huge growth during this 5 years. So if you already give 95, what will you do when they reach the 5th year? So you cannot give 120 out of 100. So what is the analogy here? I see that there are several critical stages this mission has to go through. This is the first stage they are crossing. Congratulations for that. And best wishes. I'm not going to price them too much now, because like I said, that if you give 95% now, then we don't know when it's actually giving data what mark we have to give. But instead, we can actually wish that all stages go through smoothly, so that when the mission is ready for observing, the first light is actually most exciting observation you will be able to see. So I wish all the best for the team, and I hand over mic to Nishant to carry on with the other. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks, Anand. And so this is clearly a milestone achieved by support and cooperation of large number of institutes and people involved. So I'll invite now 2 PIs from IUCAA, Professor Durgesh and Professor Ram, as well as Srijit, to give a presentation on SUIT. I start off. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. It's a real pleasure to have you all here. And I would like to introduce you all to what SUIT mission is and what it can do.
and introduce also to our collaborators who have helped us immensely to get where we are. So my name is Durgesh Tripathi, and with Ram Prakash, one of the PIs, our project scientist is P. Srijit, who was our postdoc here earlier, but now he is a faculty at Manipal Center for Natural Sciences, and Divyendra Nandi and Dipankar Banerjee have been our co-Is since the inception of this project. So. And we have to hugely thank our project director, Nigar Saji, for all the help and support he's gathered from ISRO side, from various centers of ISRO. So the story of logos is like the repetitions. So the top ones are the ones who have helped us and collaborated with us in hardware development. And the bottom ones are the science people who are actually involved in the first slide science, which will be done from the instrument. Okay. So it's suit is a payload on Aditya-L1 mission. Aditya-L1 is going to be at the first Lagrange point, which is between Sun and Earth, 15 lakh kilometers away from the Earth towards the Sun. And the beauty of that place is that when the Earth rotates around the Sun, that L1 point also rotates, so there is no night for the spacecraft. So you will be looking at the Sun 24/7, and you will have a direct connection from the backside of the spacecraft to transmit data to your receivers at the Earth. So you will be monitoring, because if you put a spacecraft around the Earth, there will be eclipsing, and the Sun produces interesting events when it is night for the spacecraft, right? So you put at a location where it can see 24/7, and you can monitor the activities happening on the Sun. Now, Aditya-L1 is going to look at the Sun in the whole electromagnetic spectrum, starting at X-ray, going all the way till infrared. This is the first mission of ISRO dedicated for solar studies, and it is going to carry 7 different instruments. And there are 4 remote sensing. That means they will be detecting light from the Sun in different frequencies and studying the Sun and its atmosphere. And there are 3 in situ instruments. In situ means that you sit at one place and let things come to you, and you pick and study their properties. So Sun has these particles coming, and then you'll be sitting at one point, measuring the property of those particles and so on. And the third is looking at the magnetic field of the Sun, which can come towards the Earth, and we can predict, looking at the topology, that given feature is going to be effective or not. Now, the solar ultraviolet imaging telescope is going to, as the name suggests, going to look at one narrow part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which is near ultraviolet. And the Aditya-L1 is going to be launched on PSLV-XL. It will go around the Earth for a few rounds before actually it can be slimmed, and it will go to it will be inserted into the L1 orbit. The total cruise phase before the instrument can start working is about 112 days. So the ultraviolet imaging telescope, which is led by IUCAA, this is the CAD design, which is prepared here, and this is all which has gone into this. So this is a complicated design with various components. The Sun comes from the top right, goes into it's a 2-meter telescope. So you have a primary and secondary, and then you have the whole detector and filter wheel and focusing mechanism, various other components which are sitting at this location here, and that's where the image of the Sun will be taken up. Now, as you can see, there are so much going on in this instrument. It would require different expertise, different kind of people involvement, and so on. And here is list of collaborators we have from ISRO and also from outside ISRO, who has helped us develop these, and various components have been delivered from different agencies of ISRO's, and also from these people from MAHE, ISRO, CCI, and PRL, helping us with various manpower, helping us in develop this instrument. Now, when you build all this, then you also need to integrate that into a telescope. And because we are dealing with ultraviolet, you cannot just integrate in a room like this. You need to have an ultra clean environment, and that was developed by us at ISRO, at the Space Astronomy Group. So we collaborated extensively with the Space Astronomy Group at ISRO, which is at ISITE campus, built that facility, and the instrument was integrated in that. And when you integrate it, package it, and put full clothing and so on and so forth, our instrument looks like this. So that's the box. All these hardware and wires are there. That's where now the sun is going to be from this side. That's the front door. And on the top, you see that with heat sealed radiator and so on and so forth. Now, with any mission, you would be asking a question that, why the hell do we want to do this? Right? It's such a complicated thing. We started 10 years, 11 years ago. It has taken so long. Why it is so interesting? So to bring you to that, if you look at the sun, you are staying on the Earth, you cannot do anything but to be here and feel all the radiation and particle and everything coming from the sun. Sun is defining that environment for you, and you have to live there. And your life is so much dependent on what the sun is going to do. You better study it and try to understand what the sun is going to do. And here is an animation, which is you can call it whatever is known based on the data we have. You have the radiation from the sun, and also you have all the particles along with the magnetic field from the sun which is coming in. The radiation which you receive here, visible for example, and infrared and radio, but the high energy radiations, X-rays and ultraviolet, it all gets absorbed in the upper atmosphere of the Earth. And you have also the Earth's magnetic field, which deflects away all the magnetic energetic particles which is coming from the sun. Now, sometimes the sun's magnetic field gets directly connected to the Earth's magnetic field that puts in all the charged particles within the environment. And that's where you could have geo-effectiveness in terms of electric power blackout and so on and so forth. So sun does provide this environment, and you have to study it. Now, why do we choose this particular wavelength range? If you look at the Earth atmosphere and try to see that what kind of radiation penetrates into the Earth atmosphere, what we find is that the middle and near ultraviolet, which is 200 to 400, goes all the way into stratosphere and even lower. And you know that in your stratosphere, that's where your ozone and oxygen exist, ozone layer exists, and the chemistry is defined by how much is the radiative power output is given from the sun. So this 200 to 300 nanometer photons, they work as a catalyst in breaking ozone, or dissociation of ozone, formation of oxygen, and vice versa. And therefore, to put a proper constraint onto it, you really need to measure how well you can measure the radiative output in those wavelength ranges. And the near ultraviolet, which is 300 to 400, some part of it can also have major cause for skin cancer and so on. So you really want to understand that. On top of that, when you have these radiation, they're absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere, and sun has an activity cycle of 11 years. If you go from minimum to maximum, the temperature can change by 400 Kelvin. Now, the Earth atmosphere is gaseous, and you are heating it and cooling it, is going to expand and shrink. So any satellite you put in the Earth atmosphere, or you think about the Earth atmosphere, the shrinking and expansion is going to produce so much of drag that you have to keep the spacecraft stable in the orbit. And number of spacecraft has to keep firing thrusters to make the orbit stable. And when these particles they are generating from the solar wind, they are coming into the atmosphere, and when they get into the Earth's magnetic field and into the Earth's atmosphere, they can produce aurorae. Sun doesn't produce that music. The music is put by people who observe aurorae. But this is the nice, beautiful phenomena you see. Now, this is a regular thing which happens when you have this solar wind coming in, because it's coming in all the time. But you also have explosions on the sun, which can happen very frequently depending on which phase of the solar cycle you are in. And they could happen at a very low latitudes, and therefore they can penetrate even lower down, and therefore you can get into this problem of power blackout and navigations and so forth. Now, the radiation and the particle eruption is like the usual thing, but some also displays number of beautiful and interesting, both scientifically and artistically, phenomena which you can study on the sun. For example, this is an observation taken from ground, visible light from Swedish solar telescope, and that's sunspot. We don't know how these sunspots they behave and how do they form in the near ultraviolet. And this is what one of the questions, fundamental questions, Soot is going to address. In addition, you have these large-scale flares, which are the temperature there could go as large as to 30 million degrees, and we don't know that how much energy is in near ultraviolet because the wavelength range which you are interested in, that is what is going to create more flux or more radiative power, which can go into the stratosphere. So we will be putting further constraints on that with Soot. And on top of that, you have these large scale eruptions, and I have put Earth on a scale here, and you can imagine that how much if that whole mass comes and engulfs the interplanetary medium. And to you, the good thing is that the interplanetary space is huge, so everything just expanded, and if at all, you get only a tiny bit of it. So one of the questions here is to look at these eruptions and why, how, and where these things happen. Now, one of the things here is that we don't know when these things are erupting, and our science, one of the main science driver is to look at those regions. So we have to essentially build an AI on board to keep looking at the data and trying to localize this on board and to figure out and go to that observational mode to study and capture the data so that we can do further science with it. One final thing, which is another fundamental thing, which essentially relates to that why does the sun produce these kind of radiation? And this is a little a technical plot, but the idea is this is the surface of the sun, and you are going higher into the atmosphere. What you see that the temperature is decreasing. That's what used to happen. A fireball, you're walking, temperature decreases, but suddenly you can't go further, and the temperature just increases by to 1 million degrees. So you are talking about 6,000 degrees on the Earth's surface. Go higher up, it decreases a little bit, and then you suddenly hit 1 million degrees. And a lot of emphasis internationally which has been given to this 1,000 kilometers in the atmosphere, trying to get so many data points here. But now we know that you cannot actually ignore this part of the atmosphere because the sun's atmosphere is magnetically coupled. And Soot is going to provide 11 data points in the solar atmosphere. So, and that range has not been looked at in totality from anywhere from the space telescope. So that would be one of the next thing that we provide 11 data points combined with already these existing at the higher atmosphere to get a seamless view of how the solar atmosphere gets coupled all the way from the lower atmosphere on the surface to higher up into the atmosphere. So just to put the timeline, so ISRO and I made an announcement of opportunity in 2012, early 2012. We put in a proposal by mid 2012. It went through a number of reviews. Finally, approval came in 2015. Fund flow and the real work started in 2016. And we have delivered Soot to 2023 after successful completion, and hopefully have expected launches August this year, and with the mission lifetime of 5 years. So with that, I would like to thank everyone who has been involved in this and helped us doing this. Without that, it had not been possible. But before saying any further, I would like to invite Dr. Ram Prakash to say, take this. I don't have a presentation, but I will try to convey some of the challenges which we had faced on the way over those 10 plus years of conceptualizing, designing, fighting, building, and delivering the payload. So as Durgesh mentioned, it's a unique combination of capabilities that we have built into this payload because all those phenomena which you saw, the flares, ejections, etc., if you want to study that um, in a way to understand what happens on the sun which leads to those phenomena and where on the sun is such phenomena likely to happen next. Those are the kind of questions one would like to directly tackle with this payload. So which essentially meant that a payload like this had to react to what is going on in the sun. It's not a payload which is going to sit there and look at the sun benignly, just taking images and sending them back. But it has to react to the activities that is happening on the sun, like the flaring or active regions, or the ejections, etc., and then change its mode of operation so that it can then closely watch where interesting things are happening on the sun surface. And to build that kind of intelligence into the payload without really knowing what you are really going to study first. Because unless you study it, you don't know. And to study it, you need to know you're rightly prepared to react to the activities. So it's a chicken and egg problem. So it's a little bit of a difficult problem to solve, and that's one of the big challenges we had to face. How to build in the right intelligence on the payload on board so that the payload can react to activities on the sun, get triggered into modes in which it can give us deeper insights into those activities. So this is one of the challenges. The other challenge was because it's a UV mission, the ultraviolet radiation from the sun, in addition to getting absorbed in the atmosphere and causing all kinds of changes in the atmosphere, it also has effects on the payload itself. Ultraviolet is not a very, it's a very energetic radiation. So it can, if there is, for example, a little bit of particulate or molecular contamination on the payload, that can lead to performance degradation over the lifetime of the payload. So we had to control contamination, even little bit of grease, which is on your fingertips, can be ruinous to a payload like this. So we had to control the contamination to such an extent that we had to build special clean rooms within which people can work and assemble the payload and test it. We had to establish protocols of how the people should clothe themselves, protect themselves, and protect the payload from getting contaminated while working on the payload and testing it. So these facilities and the protocols had to be laid down. People had to be trained to do this. And that was a big challenge to start with, because while you're building and designing and building the instrument, you also need to figure out how to behave near the instrument. And a simple act of scratching your head or scratching your chin can be a problem in such an environment. A natural act can be a big problem. It can kill the payload. So people have to be trained on their etiquettes of how to behave near the payload, and that was another challenge. The third challenge was since we are looking at the sun, it produces a lot of heat and energy, heat and light. And if all that heat and light goes into the payload, we are not going to see anything. It's just going to be too bright in there. So we had to control
the light which is going into the payload in a way that only the right amount of light or the right type, the 200 to 400 nanometer wavelength region, the right wavelength radiation of the right amount only enters the payload, so that inside the payload we don't have to worry about the scattering or heating so much as otherwise one would have had to. So controlling that from the front of the instrument so that all the radiation which you do not want is rejected without even entering the payload. And only that radiation at the right quantity enters the payload also was a challenge to start with. So these are a few of these challenges I thought I would mention to you. And it has been a learning experience over the past 10 years. It's not that we knew what to do and how to deal with these challenges. We had to experiment, learn over the, it's a learning on the job process, which was good. Because right from the beginning, we also emphasized that a lot of youngsters get embedded in the team. If I look at the team composition, more than the so-called inexperienced people like us, a lot of the people who formed the part of the team was youngsters who learned. They came up with the solutions for problems which we haven't faced before. And the experience counts to solve problems mainly which were faced before and to have similar intuition to face problems. But the answers come out of solutions very often, and that often leads the path. And this was also a great experience working with them and the team. And this, I think, paid big dividends in the sense that we have managed to create a set of people who are, understand the challenges and the requirements of building a space mission, and set up a set of people who could take up future challenges in this direction. So it was been a great experience, but as Shannon mentioned in the beginning, it's only a milestone. It's a great milestone to be at, but it's only a milestone. It's a long way to go. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. We are still cooking. The pudding is not ready yet. But when it's ready, we will all call you again. Be sure, we will all call you again to have a piece of that pudding. And I hope that will be a very sweet pudding to have at that time. Thank you very much. Did you have a reader? Srijit, can you hear me? If you are speaking, you are muted. Srijit? Yes, everyone. Oh. I just share. Unmute. So maybe you stop sharing.
Yeah, I think it's unmuted now.
Okay, all right. So
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. So the last 4 or 5 years have been a challenging job working full time for the SUIT project. I joined this project in 2017, early 2017, and end of 2017 I moved to IUCAA as a postdoc. And 2021 I joined Manipal Academy of Higher Education as a faculty. So it was quite new for me, and it was challenging as well. And I'm very thankful to all core team members who have been very helpful and guiding as well as helping with this whole thing. So it was overall a teamwork rather than individual contribution by any of us. And as we speak and as we celebrate, our team members are still in AIT Clean Lab working on thermal activities and other activities. So I would like to thank everyone who are part of this, and especially to my current management, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, who had allowed me to continue working on this for last 2 years without asking any questions or causing any hindrance to me. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Srijit. Thanks, Durgesh and Ram, for the full overview of the project. I will now invite the project director, Dr. Nigar Shazi, to say a few remarks. Huh? Hey, you can translate for though. You can see the from the participants.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Durgesh, Ram, Srijit, and all the team members. It's been a long journey of 7 years with of my association with the SUIT team, and it's over the years there were a lot of inflows and outflows of the team members, but overall the journey was quite challenging and interesting. And till COVID pandemic, almost once in 2 months, I have an opportunity to visit IUCAA, and used to have heated as well as fruitful technical reviews, especially with the design team, Afak, Aviyartana, Akshay, Srijit, and it's a fruit of a teamwork which the team has put in a tremendous work, especially the young team led by Janmajay and Rishikesh during the last leg of realization phase. Hats off to them. Though they are young, they have put in tremendous day and night effort to bring the instrument to this state. And and this is the first milestone, which the most awaited milestone for the project, and hope we'll cross all the further milestones, and we'll have fruitful data output from L1. And my congratulations and thank you for all the team members from LEOS for their optical and optomechanical delivery of optical and optomechanical elements, IASU for their mechanism, and URSC for thermal and mechanism, and SAG for all the detector and detector electronics, and finally the SUIT team for their untiring effort. And hope and best wishes for the instrument to function as desired and give data that will be the uh, culmination of this event. And thank you, one and all.
Thanks, Dr. Shazi, who joined us from ISRO. I will next invite the head of Space Astronomy Group, Professor Shankar Subramanian from ULS.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Shankar, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, let me congratulate the SUIT team. It's a great achievement. And I always fancied having a telescope to look at the sun in the extreme ultraviolet and ultraviolet band. A lot of activities going on in this particular band. So in the initial stage, when Durgesh came to me asking for what kind of instruments which we can develop, first thing I told him is the ultraviolet band. And at that time, we also had the AstroSat UVI team developed by LEOS and IAA jointly. We had the required technology to develop it. So that's one of the initial discussions we had. And I have two roles in SUIT to play as a principal scientist of Aditya-L1, as well as a group head of space astronomy. As a principal scientist, I would say SUIT has a lot of potential. The science outcome is quite enormous because at this particular wavelength, full disk image of the sun is currently not available for any of the community. There are Bloomberg experiments and the space missions in a narrow field of view. So this would be a kind of first kind of a mission where you get a full disk images, And you all know what the advantage the full disk tremendous advantage. And of course, this also complement with other payloads on Aditya-L1, so has a lot of potential to do collaborating science with other payloads on Aditya-L1, ground-based systems as well as the space-based applications. As a group head, there's a lot of learning both at IUCAA and as well as at Space Astronomy Group head. This is the first UV payload which we got involved in it. Our expertise was in X-ray instrumentations. So it is something learning from us, which we learned quite a bit from IUCAA. And that learning helped us to develop the required low noise CCD electronics for the suit CCD, which also includes, as Ram suggested, the onboard intelligence, which is a very critical and crucial part of the detector system for us to save a lot of data volume and still retain the important and very important events which is happening in the sun. And apart from this, we also involved in developing the clean room. I mean, we have now class 1000 and class 100 clean rooms for putting together any contamination sensitive, particle sensitive payloads in our lab. This is something like a second in the country for payloads apart from the MGK Menon lab, which is developed for the UV. And these developments definitely has taken SAG to the next level, where now we are even talking about developing CCD electronics for X-rays and other types. And the clean room also provides us an opportunity to get into some challenging payload developments and missions. So, and the hand holding also helped IUCAA to learn the nitty-gritties of space instrumentation, especially the detector electronics related stuff. And I'm sure they are now well versed to develop their own space-based detector electronics in the future. Of course, our role does not stop here. We have exciting onboard operations as a science person, as well as detector-related aspects during the PV phase, and also potential science collaboration. We as a team, we also do a lot of science from the Aditya payload. So once again, congratulate the team for the achievements and wishing them for potential science outcomes in the coming years. Thank you.
Thanks, Shankar. Now we will listen to another head of who has been partner in this mission, head of Center of Excellence for Space Science India, SESI, Professor Dibyendu Nandi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So great to see all of you. It's been, I think, close to 2 months that I've not seen anybody. I was waiting to look through the solar ultraviolet imaging telescope and screw up my eyes. But Ram cannot now claim that he has this opportunity to screw up my eyes. I screwed it up myself. Anyway, it's a great pleasure to see this day. Of course, it will be a greater pleasure when you actually have the data from the instrument and it all is good and you can do the science that you planned. I remember that, I think it was 2012 or 11, Shankar may remember when U.R. Rao was the director of the Space Science Program Office, that the decision was taken to throw up the Aditya-L1 mission and make it a much broader, larger observatory-class mission. And we were called to ISRO to sort of brainstorm what can go in and how we can envisage this bigger mission. And when we looked at all the existing plans, I, Durgesh and Dipankar, we had a cup of tea or coffee, I think, outside of ISRO, and we sort of realized the magnetic context of the solar surface. It sort of acts as a breach for all the magnetic fields that is produced in the interior and comes up and eventually drives all these dynamics that Durgesh so beautifully talked about. That context is completely missing in the current Aditya-L1 configuration. And we brainstormed this, and Durkesh went back to IUCAA. He talked to Ram, and we came up with this idea. And I must say that there was also some inputs from the Max Planck group as well. And eventually, we came up with an instrument which is pretty unique, new, never been built, not only in the Indian context. I must say that what Ram and his team of engineers have achieved has some component, some wavelengths, which has never been observed from space from any other country. And it really is not 10 years. Durgesh and Ram both said 10 years, but I remember distinctly the money really started flowing from late 2014 or 15. And if you take off 1 year for the pandemic, we really had 8 years to do it. And well, we can dream of many ideas, but I think the real credit is to the engineering team. And I don't even want to name anybody because I'm sure we'll lose out many names. It's been for me and for Ceci an absolute pleasure to collaborate with IUCAA on this. I must also now mention Nigar. Nigar just spoke a little bit ahead of us. There was always this sort of cultural differences. She coming from the project management side of ISRO and this bunch of scientists who have never built an instrument with a new team. We had our rough days, but when it was so important to have Nigar pushing us, and we highly and deeply appreciate the role that you also played to see this through along with the instrument team. With that, I will just end and I'll say congratulations again to everybody who's been involved, and I look forward to the science from this instrument. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Zibendra. It was also nice to see you and also sharing some anecdotes along the way. I will now invite Director, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Professor Annapurni.
Yeah, hello. It's a very momentous and milestone occasion to have completed and delivered this payload integrated onto the spacecraft. It is indeed one of the first milestones, or maybe one of the first few milestones to cover before you actually get launched and start getting the data. So congratulations to the team, congratulations to the science team for planning the specifications, congratulations to the science team for putting it together and delivering it and completing the integration. Of course, there are more steps to move forward, etc. The team from IAA contributed to the detector related issue items, and the student Manoj Verma was working at eyesight for various things, and probably one of our MTech PhD students, Varmas, when he submits his thesis, we'll have one thesis from SUIT, one of the theses from SUIT, where IA is also partner with, and a few faculty members are also involved in it. So we are co-passengers in Aditya-L1. We have the LCT instrument as well going on board. So we look forward to a pleasant flight. So we have to sit back and then geared up to do the thing and make sure, hopefully everything functions and we will have this sweet party which Ram was referring to, and we get to actually taste the sweet when we get the data and do the analysis and science. And for us, more than any sweet or any dessert, the science results coming out of these missions is the most sweet part of it. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Annapurni. And now I invite Director Aries, Professor Dipankar Banerjee.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It's a momentous, occasion. Again, at the onset, I must point out Professor U.R. Rao's contribution. It's exactly about a decade back. He was the ATCOS chairman at that point of time, and I think with his vision, the small satellite program could be converted into a full-fledged space observatory program. And I would like to mention that the solar physics got a really big leap when first full-fledged L1 class mission of Sun SOHO was launched in 1995, and still SOHO is functioning, and that changed the solar physics globally. And we hope that Aditya-L1 will be able to do the same thing, at least for Indian context, because there are many more missions in space now at different vantage points. So in my opinion, it will be very important to utilize the suit instrument also as a part of an observatory instrument. As you heard, suit has its very very specific uniqueness, and if it can complement a lot of other wavelength band as observed from other instruments on Aditya, and also other platforms in space and ground. So I think the uniqueness of the suit payload, how it effectively we ourselves can use it with other instruments at different platforms will be the key. And in that context, again, apart from congratulating the real technical and engineering team to deliver this instrument, which is probably in Anand's term, we have just been getting into from JRF to SRF position for a full PhD program, and our job probably mostly starting now to make use of this learning in terms of instrument capabilities, and then going forward. I must also compliment, Durgesh, particularly for already defining the science, targets, already preparing a very consolidated science team with many, many different members, and also the partners from Max Planck, who can really prepare themselves for the first years of observation from Aditya and way beyond. I'm also bringing in this context because I will also like to point out that at Aries we have this Aditya-L1 support cell. It will be very important to have all the POCs to work together with the support cell, and we will really request, of course, Suit is very much on board along with the other payload team to train the next generation so that we can really make use of the scientific data at its full potential. So I think this is a huge milestone, and we are all feeling excited, and probably the coming days we have to work harder to build a larger team and larger user community to do this. Just to complete, also I would like to mention my former PhD student who spent considerable amount of time in IUCAA, Shubham Chatterjee, who was a MTech PhD student also, who designed the optics initial days. So I think at different phases, different individuals, participated. That's the sort of strength of a mission of this class. And I have not met all of these individuals because of the pandemic. We were all working remotely. But I'm really looking forward to work with the entire team, and particularly the new science users, so that we can make use of the suit at its full potential. It has enormous potential. So congratulations again to all the members, IUCAA, and many different centers of ISRO. I know it's just not one ISRO center which has participated in majority of the payloads which have been delivered for Aditya-L1. They work in the background. We often do not see them, regularly, but I think a lot of compliments goes to them, and it's a responsibility for us to acknowledge that at different stages. So this is probably the right time to acknowledge all their contributions. So thank you again, and congratulations.
Thanks, Dipankar, for your remarks. Now I will invite Professor Anil Bharadwaj, Director, Physical Research Laboratory, for some remarks.
Thank you, and friends, namaskar. Good evening, everyone. I will try to speak a little bit in Hindi first. So, ये बहुत हर्ष का और उल्लास का बात है कि सूट अपने सूट बूट के साथ आदित्य-L1 स्पेसक्राफ्ट के साथ इंटीग्रेटेड हो चुका है, और इसका यह अभिप्राय है कि सूट अपने डेवलपमेंट की सभी प्रक्रियाएं पूर्ण कर चुका है और टेस्ट एंड इवैल्यूएशन के प्रोसेस को भी सफलतापूर्वक प्राप्त कर चुका है। आज ये बहुत ही गर्व का विषय है और वो गर्व का दिन है कि सूट के सभी इंजीनियर्स और साइंटिस्टों के लिए और मैं पीआरएल और पीआरएल के सभी साथियों की ओर से सूट के सभी साथियों को शुभकामनाएं देता हूं, बधाई देता हूं। सूट एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण एक्सपेरिमेंट है आदित्य-L1 का और जिसको कि अल्ट्रावायलेट वेवलेंथ बैंड में कार्य करना है और इंसिडेंटली PRL also has been a small partner in this development phase of the suit, where Dr. Raja Bayana worked with the suit colleagues for system performance evaluation and IBT, FM, QM alignments and things like that. And we are all very happy that all these activities has been fortified with the integration of the suit with the Aditya-L1 spacecraft. PRL, particularly our colleagues from Udaipur Solar Observatory, are also very keenly interested to look at the data coming out from the suit, with Nandita, Shibbu, Raja, and Girjesh being the science working team members of the suit. And with the MUST observations coordinated with the suit, it will be going to be a very excellent data set to look at to understand the processes happening over the sun. Also, we have a co-partner from PRL, the Aspects payload, which is going to look at the charged particles coming out from the sun. And that has linkages to what is happening in the ultraviolet radiations over the sun, looking by the suit. And therefore, it is going to be very interesting to look at the dimensions of the processes from charged particles to the UV radiations. And with 7 experiments on board, I believe that suit is going, the Aditya-L1 is going to be an excellent observatory class mission where we look forward to a splendid science coming out for the sun. So kudos to suit and kudos to the whole team which has done it. And we all look forward to the first light coming out from suit, which is going to be the most important milestone for the whole development activity of the suit. So thank you all and all the very best to you for future activities.
Thank you, Professor Bharadwaj. Now I will invite Professor Sri Kumar, Director, Manipal Center.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I missed the first half of the meeting. I was elsewhere, but it's a pleasure to be part of this today's celebration. As already stated by many, I'm sure that SUIT is an important experiment. It is an experiment that involved multiple institutions. It involved developments of various types, design challenges, fabrication challenges, space qualification challenges. And I think you have all overcome many of this. I've had a chance to see it from the other side as well. So it's a real pleasure to really see a completed payload fully meeting the requirements of ISRO's space qualification, now available at the clean room for integration of the spacecraft. At Mahe, we are actually quite happy and pleased to know that one of our colleagues, Srijit, has been an integral part of this team for many years. And we believe we will continue to be part of this post-launch phase of it, where lots of activities are involved, including extracting exciting science from this mission, jointly with many colleagues around the country and abroad. So SUIT has been a successful venture, and it's the right time to congratulate everyone in the team for having stuck together all these years, in spite of various levels of difficulties, various levels of bricks and bats thrown at you, but you actually survived, made it through, and today have the confidence that you can actually build world-class payloads, not just for Aditya, but for future missions as well. And I think that's an important point that you all need to keep in mind with regard to heliophysics research that is set up for the future. I also would like to emphasize that this also may be a time for us to look in terms of the phase beyond launch and getting ready for it. Many a time we have found that our readiness is not as well as we think it is prior to launch. So it's a time for us to actually reflect on it, take some necessary steps to actually organize teams, work through the details regarding what is actually involved in going from data to science. And it's always a much longer path than what we really think it is. But the faster we do these things, the earlier results are going to come. And that is what finally matters. And I'm sure the SUIT team with adequate preparation can actually move in that route very, very quickly. So an integrated approach by the SUIT team would be a very beneficial thing. And of course, certainly the whole overall argument about collaborative science across the 7 payloads and using ground-based facilities that we have access to is a key element of doing maximum science from this very important mission. So thank you and congratulations to everyone involved. But the job is more to do and we're all with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Srikumar, and others who joined from Manipal Center. Many of you might have noticed Srijit and Debujo sitting there, friends, old friends. Srijit and I actually did our coursework together, and I'm very happy to see Srijit. And we have been talking, of course, for a long time. I will now request Durgesh to display a message from the Director, Max Planck Center for Solar System Research. Oops. Sorry. Very okay. Dear Durgesh Ram, of course, I am not the one, right? Congratulations on reaching this important milestone. You can justly be proud of your achievement. I'm very happy to hear that SUIT is now fully integrated and looking forward to the launch of Aditya. Thank you for the kind invitation to remotely attend the meeting at IUCAA celebrate this auspicious occasion. I've just checked my calendar. Unfortunately, have an important meeting with the Max Planck Vice President at the time, which I cannot move. As a consequence, I cannot accept your kind invitation at such short notice. Therefore, I wish you a happy celebration. Enjoy the occasion before the preparation start again. As I wrote above, I am very excited by the possibilities that SUIT will provide and very much look forward to the science that will be able to do the best wishes, Sami. So this was Professor Sami Solanki from Max Planck. Okay, so now this is open for questions, comments, and remarks. So if you have any. Yeah, Sanjeev.
When is the first flight expected? So about 115 days after the launch. So immediately as soon as it goes there, it will start up. Yeah, so I mean you will start with switching on the instrument, and SUIT will be the first one to be switched on. Because that is also going to provide a context to the coronagraph, which has to center the sun exactly in the line so that the light outside the disk does not penetrate through the instrument. So you would switch on SUIT and start looking at where falling on the detector and realign the spacecraft.
Okay, so now there is a question from our young friend, Vedu.
So, like you told us, the solar flare causes those northern lights, but what effect is on the solar flare? What is the bad effect on Earth?
What is the bad effect on Earth by the solar flares?
That's a tough question. A very good one. So that's what we want to understand. But do you play with mobile phones? No. You watch television? Yes, right. So there you go. So all the signal you get from television, sometimes it can get blocked. If you have a very strong solar flare which comes and hits your satellite in space, you get the telemetry from the space. Also, luckily you are in India where the magnetic field of the Earth is strong, you can go down. But if you are living in the northern countries, then you could easily get power blackout. So you won't have electricity for a few days, for example. So these effects can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that, but if technology isn't there, so then what is the cause of this? Then what will happen with us?
If the technology wasn't required. Okay. Well, technology is required first thing. What other thing can happen is like you like to be astronaut? No? That requires technology. That requires technology. Okay. What could also happen is like when you have these solar flares, they produce these ultraviolet radiation. I told you, no. So those ultraviolet radiation comes all the way in the Earth atmosphere. And for example, if you go to beaches, you like beaches? Yeah. So you go to beaches, you want to go in the water, come out on the sand, take sun bath and all that. So if you have more of those fluxes coming in, then it could be also dangerous for skin cancer.
Yes, Surul?
Yeah, so what are the consumables on the spacecraft which limit the mission lifetime? Do you expect that you could go more than 5 years? Just like so.
So as I will say something and then I'll invite Ram to add. As Dipankar pointed out, that SOHO was launched in 1995 and it still is there. And all the payloads were switched out deliberately because it had been overtaken by other missions. And one of the payload is still working because there is nothing which is new from that perspective. So consumable is mostly the battery, and battery lifetime can work very well. In suit, it's an ultraviolet, so the contamination and other thing could the throughput can go wrong after a while and so forth. But I would let Ram to add on this.
More than the payload, in order to maintain the orbit, there has to be fuel to frequently fire the thrusters and so on. At some point, we'll run out of that. So that's probably another cost that we find the lifetime. But it's clearly plan is not to run out of the fuel in 5 years. It's supposed to outlast that. But at some point, that might be fine.
Very commendable. But Shian said 95. You said 95. Can you define his field later? The linear, logarithmic.
Ashiv, you are complicated. I don't understand.
This James Webb is also the same.
James Webb at L2.
Okay, very similar. Not
from the other side of that.
From the other side.
No, my point is, it's a big challenge that ISRO is being given. I mean, he has done Mangala, and I'm not.
Oh, that is indeed, yeah.
But this also is a big challenge.
Sure.
Insertion and maintaining the orbit at L1, it's a halo orbit. Any other questions?
You should be answering the questions.
Yeah, but it is from the spacecraft point of view, I'm asking. So, how easy it is to get the orbit of halo, Lagrange point 1 halo orbit? Is it going to be easy for?
How easy it is to inject?
Yeah.
Or maybe Nigar, if you are still around, maybe you could take that question. Ravi, because you know Ravi very well. Ravi is asking how easy or difficult it is to inject and maintain an orbit. She's talking about. Okay. The halo orbit, most of the orbits at the L1 location are unstable orbits. Any kind of disturbance, it will throw off the. But there are some stable orbits which are not too many compared to what is possible. So inserting and getting it into the right stable orbit is a challenge. People have, ISRO and NASA have done that before for other solar missions, but not many people have done. Okay. Three missions before?
This is the fourth one.
This is the fourth one. So it is a challenge. It's not a fully understood thing. It is a challenge.
I can ask.
And you have seen the shape of the orbit. It's not an elliptical orbit or a circular orbit. It looks like a donut kind of thing.
So, based on the experience with Soho, do you know roughly what are the probabilities of getting impacted by micrometeorites and so on, just like JWST at some point in time? Do you have some probabilities and how dangerous? I mean, how much you have planned for these kind of
flight dynamics people, when we discuss this, they said that they have taken care of all those, including the energy particles in the sun. So they have taken the particle load and other kind of load modeling this out.
Radiation
particle is smaller.
That's the main. That is the main.
But
other things like micrometeorites and things like that, a little bit of unknown.
What will micrometer do? It will put a dot in the mirror. Nothing much will happen. I will be very little. It's not that.
Question of it's always unique.
Unless I'm looking at
radiation.
There is haze, but there is a minor. I think the James Webb already has. But it's tiny.
They are tiny.
Yeah, that's will help certain guys. Don't worry about it.
He said solar telescope is pointing to the sun. KW is pointing different ways. So if you have micrometeorite comes or something, I think the orbit has to be really crafted in order to get into the.
But they can come from any state.
Somebody has to design an orbit so that like it's in the right way.
How does this matter is
yeah.
So I'm assuming you must have stress tested the onboard intelligence system, right? It seemed to be important for science. So you may already have results on your laptop, but if not, can you give us some clue as to what these tests involved? And what is the weakest link payload? Is this the one or something else?
Weakest link, I'll let Ram to say, but I'll mention about this AI business. See, we don't know where the flare is going to happen. And since we have only one telescope, only one detector, we want really high cadence data. And also the telemetry is limited. Best would be to keep taking full disk data in all the wavelength as fast as we can so that we don't have to worry about it. And we get the data and we still it there. But we have only one telescope. If we keep taking full disk data, we are going to generate huge amount of data we cannot download. So we have to take, optimize our observations. And we have to, so we can define science cases from ground for the features which are stable enough. But these features are just coming abruptly and we don't know. So the way we have looked at it is we have two other instruments on board, which is the soft X-ray spectrometer and hard X-ray spectrometer. And there have been extensive study done using earlier spacecrafts that how much intensity you're going to change in these wavelengths so that we can figure out if there is going to be a flare or not. So what's going to happen is the soft X-ray instrument is going to internally look at the light curve. And when the light curve is increasing consistently for some time, it will give a flag to our instrument. And then we go into flare. The hard X-ray is giving another data linked to our payload on board. And we are analyzing that data on board to look at these enhancements. But these are not full things. We have tested it and we kept it right for the large flares, very, very often. Small flares, we have problems. But from physics point of view, we also know that soft X-ray radiation from flares is just an after effect of the flare. You see it in hard X-ray, the data becomes very noisy. And the near ultraviolet combines very well with what you see in hard X-ray. Because the electrons which are produced at the reconnection site, they go directly to the chromosphere and they start radiating in near ultraviolet. So we thought that our instrument probably will give a equally good or if not better ways to identify flares. So then we discussed this and we have a parallel data link where we keep, in addition to all these data we will take for different observation mode and all that, we will take in one filter which is most sensitive to these phenomena. We'll keep taking images on a very fast time scale and we analyze on board and detect that which of the regions are going to give consistent enhancement.
And if we find that the enhancement is more than given threshold within some limited time, then we directly zoom into that. So since this is not known that what threshold has to be, and nobody from near ultraviolet has looked at flares in these ways, we are waiting for these first light data to come and put the thresholds later on. Okay? The losing, like mentioned, what could be the other?
You have covered everything. You were asking about stress tests. Usually, what happens is the hardware is really stress test in vibration, thermovac, heating, cooling, acoustic impact, all kinds of space qualification in terms of hardware. And software is a part which usually does get overlooked a little bit. But we have paid special attention to the software part of SUIT because it's a very important element in the success of the program. The other part, we have done all kinds of stress testing as much as we can, and it is still going on. It's not finished. And those are the kind of tests which are actually happening as we speak. But foreseeing that we are trying to look at something and planning for something which people have not looked at before and trying to react to it on board. We have built in a system on board which is, you can upload new programs. So as you learn, it is not a static system as it is. We built it consciously from the very beginning. We have developed our own an equivalent of operating system on board and programs which can be built into that operating system on board in a way that in future we learn things which are not anticipated, and Durgesh imagination didn't get that far ahead yet. Then we might be able to do a little bit of adaptation of the onboard programs by uploading new programs in there. So that flexibility is built in from the very beginning.
Thank you. Any final question?
Are there people in Bhaskar some online questions?
Will the Aditya coronagraph data be publicly available like the SOHO data? And one more question is, will IUCAA directly handle the data produced by SUIT, or will it be available through some open channel?
Right. So there is a data policy document which is being worked out at ISRO headquarters, and how the data will be distributed and how public it will be, how long it will take. That will come out very soon. As far as SUIT data is, so the data will be given to ISRO first. They downloaded at ISRO. It will right away come to the Payload Operations Center at IUCAA. We will process the data. Within 24 hours, we have to give the data back to ISRO, and all the dissemination of the data for public, for analysis, and all that will happen from ISRO.
And maybe to answer the question about whether the data will be publicly available, the payload will go through different phases, and in the initial phase where we are checking the performance of the payload, etc. Of course, that's not a data which may not be immediately available to public, but definitely over time, we will have data available over public, and there are, especially for SUIT payload, there are data which are time sensitive, where if you make that data publicly available, it will give a wider benefit because others can then go and study that activity. They are time sensitive. So we would make all efforts to provide that data available as quickly as possible to the widest audience.
So maybe I can also add that we would like to welcome participation. So if you want to use the data, get in touch with us, become a science team member, and use the data from the very first day.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I hope. So let us thank all the speakers and thank you all for coming. Thank you all those online participants. And this is now time for a high tea. You are all invited.